So 3 years ago, when they've loosened up the COVID restriction and people are allowed to go outside and go shopping, I went to the nursery and picked up this Monstera plant. It was on a discounted section of the nursery, and I thought I will rescue them and refresh them and give it a new life. Did I rescue them? And that's the rescued plant. Need more rescuing from me now. So if you can join me, and I will show you how I will rescue this Monstera plant again and give it a fresh life. Good morning, good night, and anything in between. Welcome to my channel. So, like I said earlier, this is the Monstera plant I picked up from the nursery on a discounted section, on a discounted part of the nursery. So it was looking a little bit dull at the time, and at the time it's up to here. So it actually was just up to here, and I had a little bit of growth growing from it when I picked it up. So the little growth that I had is now getting bigger. So this is 3 years old, mind you. But today, as I was going through the garden, and I've noticed that this Monstera plant is not growing as it should anymore, and I've inspected it. So I have this new growth here. I've got a little bit of root coming out from this, but it's a bare section, and then it somehow got revived, and I've got this section here bent on the side, and I've got roots coming out. I've got air roots coming out. So I took it out of the pot. I will show you where I had it positioned in my backyard and the size of pot that I had them on, and I think by looking at it you will know what the problem was. So I'm just going to show you quickly where I've actually had that Monstera plant in. So this is where I took it from, and this is where I have the pot. So this is quite a big pot for that plant. At the time I thought it's a good idea to have them sitting on a big pot already for the plant to grow, and I don't have to move it out of this pot. But obviously it didn't quite work for that in this instance. So that's what I've got there, and that's the size of the pot. And this is the position where I had it. So a little bit of sun goes through it, but not really. So that's where the beginning of my pergola is. So it's right there, and that's where it's sitting. So then I pulled it out, and when I pulled it out, this is the root of the Monstera. So you could see for 3 years it didn't really grow much, and I don't have a lot of side root, and for 3 years I would expect that this would have formed a root ball already, but it didn't. It is very stalky. There's nothing happening in here, and you've got all this section, and it was just really hard for me to train this and have it standing up. So today I've decided I will make something out of this. Well, at least I will try to revive this, give these ones new life, and I will propagate them, give them a fresh house. So for this project I will be needing 2 sizes pot, one for the cuttings that I will propagate, and a little smaller pot for the main plant where I will be getting the cuttings from. I will be needing a microfiber cloth, a sharp secateur, alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and I've got but just a container of soil, travel. I've got dry leaves and twigs, dry twigs, this here. So first of all, I will just sanitize my secateur. So I will just put alcohol in these. Just be careful with your secateurs and alcohol. So you need to make sure that you wipe off the excess alcohol, because this is a metal after all. And sometimes, like, you know, if you don't wipe the alcohol properly, then you can damage the mechanism, because a rust could form. So just make sure you do that, and I'll just leave it air dry for now. I also like to use like a little mesh thing on my pothole, because a lot of times I lose a lot of the soil and it just goes outside. So I normally put them on the hole itself. It is semi-permeable, so water could go through, but at least the soil can stay in the pot. So I will put this on the spot where I will keep the main plant. It just sits there at the bottom. Okay, it just prevents the soil from going. So just with this plant. So this is the main root ball. Then you've got, if you can see in here, I've actually got new growth happening in there. Then I have this growth which has matured already, and it's just there. And then I've got nothing happening, just nodes. I've got a air root coming out. I've got another node, and another air root coming out, another node, and an air root coming out, then a node, air root. I've got a whole leaf hanging out from there, then a space, and just here I could see that there could be another growth going to come out there, and then you've got the air root, then space. I've got a node, an air root, space, a node, and it looks like I've got another growth coming out from there, and then air root again, a leaf, and then air root, and I've got another plant. So just by inspecting this, I think I will make 4 plants out of these. So with my secateur dried, I will then make the cuts. This one. This is the main plant. 2. Here. I will get rid of this because another one. Just be careful that you remember how it will stick onto the soil, okay? Just leave it there. So I will face the root towards me, so I'll remember. Okay, so I actually ended up with 5. Well, 4 plus the main plant. So this is 1. So it's a good cut just right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so the first thing I will do is I will put the main plant into the soil. So I've got a mixture of, I've got a soil just from the garden bed. So this is a combination of organic matter, the normal clay soil, and some compost over the years. So I will put them in here. So just a 2 scoop of soil, and I always like to add some twigs into my mix just to give it a bit of air. So I'll just put a little bit of twigs right there. By the way, it's up to you whether you want to use gloves or not. But with me, especially with a little work like this, like, you know, I'm working with little pots only, and yeah, I tend to just not use gloves. So just find it hard to work with gloves. So I will just go with my bare hands. Of course, you have to wash your hand properly with soap after you've done repotting, because you don't know what sort of bacteria you picked up from the soil. Just put a layer of twigs in here, and I'll just mix it a little bit. And I also put a little bit of dry leaves just to air my soil. So eventually this one will decompose. It will break down, and it will add a little bit of organic matter into your soil. So it's a good thing. Just add a bit of soil. Then I've got up to that level, and I've got my root ball in here. So I think some of them are, like, you know, inspect your root ball, and I could see some of them are a little bit flimsy already. So I will make a little bit of cut to this root, just because I think they're already broken anyway, because it's a little bit flimsy. And I will just put it on top, right on top, and just lay them nicely towards the middle of the pot, and make sure this bowl is sitting right up. Then I'll add a layer of soil, a little bit of my twigs, a little bit of soil, and you are kind of shaking it a little bit as you go along, just to get rid of all those air pockets. A little bit of the dry leaves again. And a little bit of the soil on top again. So later on, I will give this a good soak. I purposely put it in this terracotta pot because I want these to not drown with the water. Because I find that, like, you know, if the terracotta pot is semi-permeable, so the water can evaporate, and the plant actually breathes better on them. So yeah, especially with the Monstera plant, as you probably saw how the roots look like earlier. So it looks like the pot is big to start with, and it didn't give enough circulation of air, and they kind of drowned, and maybe I watered them too much, so they kind of drowned. And I find as well with the Monstera, they like to be a little bit snug on the pot. So my mistake there is I probably gave it too much water, and having it in a big pot, it kind of pulls the water underneath, and they become soggy. So I put it in a smaller pot now, and I put it in a semi-permeable pot, which is terracotta, and hopefully this one will recover and will give me better leaf and better structure later on. So I will, like I said, I will soak it in water later on, but I will leave it out to dry, and I might put it under under the shade, or but I will put it under the shade, but I will allow the sun to get to this for about 2-3 hours of the day, so it will recover. I know Monstera is a indoor plant, but honestly, no plant does not need sun, and especially if they are stressed like this, you need to give them good sun, not a direct sunlight. If you could give them a filtered light, or just enough sunlight, not blazing sunlight, just they can get their nutrients from the sun. So I will put this aside later on until I water them, okay? And then we will work on these other pots, because I'm only using this as my propagation, so I won't be using this pot for a long time, so I won't be putting cover in this, because with that one I think I will have that plant in there for a while. So I will use this. So again, this is a terracotta pot, and I've just washed them because I had that other plant sitting in it a while ago, and yeah, so I just need to wash them. So the same thing goes. I'll put a bit of soil. Oh, see, you know what I mean? Just the soil just comes out. Bit of soil, bit of twigs. So I put twigs underneath because I want the root to have a bit of aeration underneath. So eventually the root will go underneath because it will be seeking water. But I would also like to make sure that it has a good aeration, and so they will form the root ball better. A bit of soil, then a bit of my dry leaves. If you are following me, or if you are subscribed to my channel and seen some of my videos, I do tend to use a lot of the stuff that I have in the garden already, because really gardening is a hobby. It's a hobby of mine, and with all the other expenses that we have right now as an adult, adding cost, adding garden expenses to the current cost of living, it just doesn't make sense to me. Or I refuse to say that I will spend a lot of money. I will refuse to spend a lot of money on a hobby of mine, although it's a good hobby. But if I could save, or if I don't have to spend money on my hobby, then I wouldn't. So that's why I use a lot of all the twigs that I've got from the garden, or all the dry leaves, all the waste that I got from the kitchen, and I'm just recycling them and making use of them for other purpose, and this time for my garden. So it's all about, like, this hobby is all about sustainability, about using what's out there instead of throwing them, making use of them, giving it a bit of life, or repurposing it. So anyway, that's just me anyway. So yeah, so most of the plants I have in this garden are either given to me, something that I was given to me, or I've asked my friend for cutting, or like a really discounted plant that I saw in the nursery and almost dead, but I'd give it a new life, and I tried to revive them. So yeah, because it's very challenging to get a almost dead plant to to be alive again. So yeah, so that's a challenge I always like to take upon. So I've got 4 cuttings here. So if you know me, I normally just put all my cuttings in the one pot, because first of all, I am lazy. I don't wanna have to go through, like, so many pots, and I don't want to have to go through so many pots and watering them, because I only water with rainwater. So yeah, so I'm just conserving the water and also conserving my energy, trying to water every single pot. So at least I could concentrate my attention to just one pot, and I know what I've got in there. So they're all like, I could watch them better if they're just in the one pot. So I've got 4 cuttings that I will put into this pot, and so I will just pretty much, because I've got a root here already, I've got an air root here already, I've got an air root here already, so I will start planting them first. So I will just take up 2 sides of this pot. I just sit them right there, so they're not right next to each other, but they're very close. If you have a look here, so that's where I will sit them. So just right there, okay, not totally together, but not really apart. Yeah, so there's a bit of gap, you see. Yeah, so I've got that there, and while I've got the air root sitting on top, I will just lay it on top of the soil and just hold that, and then I will add a bit of soil on top while holding this plant. I'm just going to add the soil. So it will just cover the air root that I've just had laying flat on the soil. Okay. So there. I'll add in a little bit of twigs just to mix it up. Remember, like, this twig and these dry leaves will break down. It won't be long before it breaks down. So don't you worry that it's, it's just there. And a little bit of soil. So just enough for it to be standing. Yeah. And then I will get this one first. And I will just stick it directly onto it, and I will plant them up to here, just above this first node here. So I will just go right on the side of this 2 gorgeous plant and stick it there, just enough for it to be standing, because remember, later on I will put more soil in there. And then this one, I will put them just above this first node as well, because I've got a aerial root happening in there as well. Okay, so I'll put it on the other side. It actually is perfect. There's 4 of these, so it's just balance. And then while it's sitting up, I will add some soil. I'll add the soil in there. Just keep adding. So remember as well, because I've got dry leaves here and I've got some twigs, as it breaks down, the soil will compress and it will become shallow. So don't you worry if the height of the soil is very high, because eventually this one will sink down anyway. Just put the remaining. And all these dry leaves as well forms as a mulch in here to conserve the water, so the water doesn't evaporate when I water them. So if you're gardening, I really encourage you to make use of what's free in your garden or what's a waste from your garden, because you can repurpose it and the plant will love it too, because they're organic matters. So this one's just lying down a little bit, so I will just make sure this is standing. So because this is a fresh cutting, I will not water this today. I will just allow the cutting or the cut to dry off a little bit, so it doesn't form any mold. But I will only give it a day, and tomorrow I will water them already. I will not position it directly under the sun. I will probably put it back on the same spot where I had the mother plant, because first of all, it doesn't get too much sun, and I just don't want to, because it has a lot of leaves already. I don't want it to stress too much if it picks up too much sun, and then it will dry them. So just overnight I will just leave it around there, and then tomorrow after I've watered them, I will bring it out, not directly under the sun, but where it could get some sun for about 2 hours of the day. And yeah, so that's how I will do it. I will rescue this Monstera plant. So you might be asking me, you might ask, a lot of people, or if you are going online and you see a lot of people propagate Monstera on water, and why did I not do that with my plant? I think for me it's just a preference for me, because honestly I'm not very successful with propagating most things in water. Maybe because I am lazy to change the water or top up the water. But with me, my reasoning is, propagating them in water, it is not the final destination of your plant, and you will have to put it in soil anyway if you want it to grow even more. And just from experience, I have propagated a few on water, but when I've transferred them into soil, it kind of gets a culture shock and it doesn't survive. So for me, if I put them straight into the soil, I know that this is the destination. This is the final destination of the plant, and this is the kind of medium I want them to grow. If they don't survive in this medium, then at least my time of it propagating and looking after it would be cut shorter, because I know that, hey, it didn't survive, that's it. As opposed to it grew in water and then you moved it in soil. It grew in water very well, you put them in soil and then they die. So that's a lot of time wasted for me. And I find that I just grow them better when I have them in soil. So this is how I will rescue my Monstera plant, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. So if you like contents like this, or if you just want to hear more from me, please don't forget to hit the notification bell at the bottom. But for now, it's me, Truly Wonderly Yours. Hanggang sa muling pagtatagpo. Bye!